Welcome to the Couples Expert Podcast with Stuart Fensterheim, LCSW, your source for the latest tips and practical down-to-earth advice on creating emotionally connected, thriving relationships. Now, here's Stuart.
This is the Couples Expert Scottsdale Podcast with Stuart Fensterheim, and this is session number 1. Hi there, I am glad to be here today. This is my first podcast that I've ever done, so I am a bit anxious about that. But aside from that, I am so excited to be here today to begin to start this new journey for me. This has been a wonderful, exciting year for me and my family. I have opened a private practice here in Scottsdale, Arizona, and have done a lot of new things this year. I created a website, been doing some blogging, and now my latest venture is podcasting. Wow. Who would have thought that I would be doing podcasting in 2014? What I thought I'd do is start by telling you a little bit about me. I am 59 years old. That sounds really old when I say it out loud. I have a wonderful, incredible wife and 2 children. Rachel, so excited by the fact that she is finishing up high school this year and going to be able to begin her journey as a veterinary medicine doctor. She's got a few years left to do, but hopefully she'll be able to accomplish that. She is a gymnast and does competitive gymnastics. I also have a daughter, Sarah. Sarah is 20 years old, and Sarah is a pre-nursing student. What else can I tell you about myself? One of the ways that I have tried to live my life is to not have regrets and to look back at some point and say, what if? I think that has made me successful both in some of the things that I've done personally as well as in my counseling practice. Probably the biggest time in my life that I did that was when I pursued an acting career, and I had a dream to be a dramatic actor on Broadway and in the movies, and decided after finishing up my college career and working as a 5th grade teacher, which I didn't like very much, I decided to pursue the acting, and I went to New York City and began auditioning. I spent a year at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, which is the same school that Robert Redford and a number of other very famous actors did. And that was really, really fun. And I think the fact that I was able to reach down and do something that I really loved and dreamed for, and even though it did not work out for me in not presently involved in theater and acting, the fact that I was able to do that and to be able to really say, I tried, even though probably the time when I decided this was not for me was when I spent 6 to 8 hours waiting for an audition. And when I finally got up there and they said, no, you're not tall enough for this part, I realized this was not for me. And then I decided, and I looked at my life and I said, what do I really love doing? And it was helping people, and began my pursuit to open my practice, which I now have done. But let's get right to the reason for today. And the podcast today is about how to really tell if you and your spouse or partner needs couples counseling. One of the hardest things for me as a couples counselor is recognizing that couples who come in to see me have come in probably 6 months too late. I think people wait to the last minute to seek out professional help, and it is one of the poorest decisions that people make, because if they had come in to see me months previously, the efforts that go into improving the relationship will be so much easier, because there isn't the same amount of anger and resentment that is built up over time, period. People typically wait to the last minute. So many people come in to see me saying that they're here as a last resort, and that divorce or our, quote, fixing the relationship is the only options for them, period. That's really unwise, because it puts such pressure on the relationship and on everyone being perfect, which no one is. So when talking about this, we need to also recognize that couples seeking counseling should not wait till they're in a crisis to come in. The best times and the best way to come and see a counselor would be at the time where things are stressful, but that there still is a great deal of positives going on in the relationship. When I think about seeking a couples counselor, one of the things that I think we have to talk about has to do with the kind of counseling that you should get. I think many people in the field of mental health counseling hang up a shingle and say, I am a couples counselor and I can do basically anything. I can do individual work, I can do couples work, I can do family work, I can do anxiety work. People today are very concerned about turning people away, so they profess to know it all. A couples counselor is a specific specialty. This is a specialty that is highly charged sessions, meaning that when people come to couples counseling, they typically have a lot of strong, intense emotions happening at the same time. You absolutely need to see someone who is skilled at seeing couples. If they're not doing at least 50% of their practice for couples, run away. And I'm serious about that. They will do things that they believe very strongly will help the relationship, but unless there's someone who really understands the interaction and the cycles that get created for couples, they're really not someone to see. Therapists are human beings and can get caught up in the same kind of cycles that couples come to counseling for. But let's talk about some of the things that might bring someone into couples counseling. There are a number of different issues and life transition events that can definitely have an effect on a couple, which would then require them to seek out some help. I'm very much a strong believer that couples, all couples, should have premarital counseling. This is a time in your life that you're making a commitment to. Hopefully, the commitment would be to live with this person forever. And unless you absolutely understand that this is the person that you're well suited for, and that the two of you have worked through all the issues necessary in order to have a relationship that can last forever, it's a big mistake. Therefore, I think that we need to talk about the fact that couples who are making a commitment to each other, both spiritually, physically, financially, going to hopefully raise a family one day, that the two of you really are best friends, and that there aren't any issues that are going to come up down the road that could possibly create a problem for the two of your happiness and your future. So if you're getting married, I believe that you should seek out some couples counseling. When there is a serious illness or disability in your family, that's a good time to seek out someone to help the two of you identify some of the stresses and difficulties that are going on and work hard at trying to solve some of the issues that can create for you. If there's a mental health issue in the family, I think a couples counseling is a wise idea. If there's a addiction or a crisis with any of the children in your family, I think couples counseling is a great idea. Some of the things that typically occur in families that are needing couples therapy is that there's a great deal of anger between the two of you. If there's any bitterness or resentment that has been created through different situations in your lifetime together that have not been able to be talked about in a way that's productive and healthy, I would definitely suggest you seek out some help. If you feel ignored in your marriage, that's a good time to seek out some help. We probably should make a distinction between issues that you need to talk to your partner about versus seeking out couples counseling. I think that the first course of action should always be to talk with your partner and see if you can resolve these issues. If these continue to get in the way, if you don't feel heard, or if you don't feel like your partner really is understanding you, or the two of you get caught up into these never-ending battles where it seems like you're having the same fight over and over for different reasons, that's a really good sign that seeking out a professional who's an expert at relationships and helping couples identify what comes up and what happens for them that interferes with their being able to resolve their issues. If these repetitive patterns continue, they really can cause a real eroding of the positive feelings between the two of you, and before you know it, both of you may shut down and you're going to feel very much alone. And that is one of the saddest things as a couples counselor that I see, is two people who have started out a relationship where they identify themselves as best friends. But by the time they come in to see me, they barely can look at each other and they can barely talk to each other. Is there anything sadder than that? I mean, we have to remember that as a couple building a family together, you are the central figures in the family. And unless the two of you have a relationship that you can be really proud of, you're going to hand down to your children and to your grandchildren a historical relationship pattern where normalcy equals conflict. And that is just not okay. It's not okay by me as a person. It's not okay about me as a counselor. It's definitely not okay by me as a member of society who really believes that if relationships between a man and a woman and a man, a woman and a woman, are ones that's filled with love and devotion and togetherness, where we all feel like we're part of something greater than ourselves. A relationship really brings people together in a way that nothing else can. Mental health issues in this society are rampant, and we hear about the lack of funding with mental health, which is causing some of the horrible things that happen in this world. I absolutely believe that a couple's relationship is the foundation of our society, and that if couples can have relationships where they feel important to each other, where they feel like they make a difference in each other's life, I absolutely believe that my wife, who I love very much, has made me a better man, has made me a better person, has made me a better father. And as a result of all of that, the joys in our lives are much better than they would ever be. A couple's relationship is the foundation that has the ability to make people have the happiest life that they can even imagine. Some people think this is pie in the sky. It's absolutely not pie in the sky. It is reality, and we now have a method that we can take a couple from point A of despair to point B of joy and pleasure and happiness and feeling good about ourselves and overcoming a lot of our past pains just because of the love that is shared between the two of you. Don't run away from this. This is incredibly important. What we should probably do is identify some of the things that you can look at in a relationship and say, if these are going on, these are good signs that we need some professional help. Probably one of the first and foremost of those is a breakdown of communication where people aren't talking. There is absolutely no reason in any relationship that two people should not be able to talk about anything that is important to either of you. I actually did a workshop recently, and one of the questions that came up was, why should we talk about something if all it does is cause the two of us pain? The answer is, there is no reason to do that if that's all it does. But everything and anything that has a direct impact on either yourself or your partner in their world, in their life, in their history, that has any effect on the two of you not being able to be close should be discussed and talked about. When you're angry with your partner, that is not a time to punish them. Not talking is probably the most disrespectful thing you can do to another human being. We're all social animals. We need people in our life that we know we can talk to and share things with and bring into our world. That's why we typically have relationships. The second part of that is if the talking that is going on is primarily negative, that can really be painful and hurtful. If people feel judged or shamed or disregarded, that needs to be addressed. If in attempting to do that, it creates ongoing conflicts and battles between the two of you, you may need a professional to help you. There is a lot of couples who come to see me that say to me they're afraid to talk to their partner. They're afraid that if they bring up issues, all it's going to do is cause pain. And if they open up, their partner now has information that can be used against them. Isn't that really sad that two people would think that someone that you're sharing your life with would take information that you give them, that you willingly turn over to them, and would then use it as a weapon? I can't even imagine doing that to someone I care about. Can you? If you can, you got to look at what that's about. Why would you do that to someone who you like? And if the answer that you give is because when I get angry, it just comes out, I guess my comment about that is, don't let it come out. And if you say, I can't control that, I think we have a problem on our hands. And I think you need to really take a look at what is it going to take so these issues aren't hurting the one that you love. I think the other thing that we have to look at is people's upbringing when it comes to affection and romance and really letting someone know how you feel about them. If that's a difficult thing for you, having a therapist skilled in working with a couple will allow them to help you be much more vulnerable with the person in your life that you want to share everything to. That's absolutely an important part of this. Now, one of the things that I'd like to sort of talk about is having a relationship where people make some pretty bad choices, and we sometimes make mistakes. And sometimes those mistakes are violations of trust, and even violations of trust that you think about. For example, having fantasies about having an affair, contemplating about having an affair. All of those things are really danger signs. It means that you are with someone who you're willing to take a risk that could end the relationship. If the relationship you have with your husband or wife or girlfriend or boyfriend is one in which that risk is worth it, you have a big problem on your hands. So any thoughts about having an affair, any fantasies about having an affair, I think with the internet, some of the chat rooms become dangerous for that. People play around and see that as being okay because it's just cyberspace. Well, I have to tell you, it's not. If you're going online and you're thinking about just putting feelers out, seeing if anyone's interested in you, you absolutely have a problem on your hands. And you should seek out some professional help on that. One of the areas that I think people don't talk a lot about is the violation of trust when it comes to our finances. When you're with someone and you have financial agreements on what should be spent or not spent, and the things are being spent on other things other than those agreements, you're basically being financially unfaithful. And I think that's an area that we need to spend much more time talking about because people generally don't do that. So we need to talk about what those violations are really about. And I think a lot of those are about feeling empty in our lives. And I think when we feel empty, when we feel alone, when we feel lonely in our relationships, we do and act in ways that goes against our own values and morals sometimes. Because the pain of loneliness and the pain of alienation is so profound for most of us that we're willing to do whatever it takes to make that pain go away. There really is only one answer, though. And the answer is to turn to that person who is so dear and loves you so much, and together talk about those things. Talk about what it's going to take to really feel your partner's presence in your life and in your world. I think one of the things that sometimes comes up for couples is they have a life in which, for whatever reason, they've chosen to really have a separate existence. They don't share a lot of things. They don't share hobbies. They don't share activities. Half the time they don't share anything to do with the children. But basically what they do is they establish a relationship where they're living separate lives. When you look at your partner, and it feels empty, there isn't a real good, positive, warm feeling that comes up in you by looking at your partner, you've got a problem on your hands. Okay? Your partner should be someone who, when you think about them, when you talk to them, when you're not near them, when you miss them, it should be really hard for you not to see your partner every single day. And when the two of you go off for your day to go to work, you should miss them. Even if you know you're going to see them that evening, there should be a sense of disappointment that you're not spending your day with your partner. If those things are not happening for you, you need to begin to take a look at your relationship and say, what's going on here? And I don't care if you've been married a year, a month, or 50 years. Those same feelings should be there. You don't outgrow those. Even though you're married to someone for 25, 30, 50 years, you should be as much in love with them today, if not more, than you were when you first met. If that's not going on, you need to do something about it. And quite often, those are the kinds of things that come up that require people to have the professional who who's skilled at helping couples learn how to stay connected emotionally, physically, spiritually, sexually, and in all ways, so that you can really feel like your life is complete because of your partner, and their life is complete because of you. There is nothing lonelier than being in a relationship where you feel alone. Counselors that work with couples who are experts in relationships know how to take you from point A to point B, and point B being so madly in love with your partner that you can't think of your life without them, and that being without them is not joyful. You'd rather spend every day, every minute, every hour of your life with your partner than without them. Does that mean that you shouldn't have fun and enjoy the time when you're not together? Of course not. But your choice should always be to be with them. And if you need to go away, if you need to travel, if you have 1-2 tickets to the Super Bowl, it should always be your partner who you'd want to bring. And if that's not who you live with right now, please take it upon yourself. Talk to your partner. Try to establish a relationship where that is the central part of the two of your life together. And if you need some help, seek out some counseling. A counselor can help you find a way back to that or create that for the first time in your life. So there you have it. There's a number of issues, obviously, that I probably haven't mentioned. There are a number of things that are necessary to accomplish this. We haven't talked a lot about what does it take to maintain a positive relationship. I hope to do that at a future podcast. But for today, I hope I've clarified some of the issues as I see them that are necessary to give you the idea that marriage counseling or counseling with a relationship counselor is important for your relationship. Take it upon yourself. Do that for yourself. Do that for each other. Do that for your children. Do that for future generations. Do that for our society. A marriage counselor can really be the beginning of turning your life around and those that you love. Thank you. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to today's episode with your host, Stuart Fensterheim. You're one step closer to reigniting that fiery passion with your partner. For more information
and your 30-minute free phone consultation with Stuart,
visit www.thecouplesexpertscottsdale.com. We'll see you next time.